Yes, a very warm welcome to a new episode of the 7th podcast season of New Female Leaders. My name is Caroline. I'm the founder of New Female Leaders. And today is a very special episode as I speak with Maria Masliy. Maria.
Hello. Hi, Caroline.
Hi. So glad you're here. Welcome. In March of this year, 2022, you fled from your hometown Kiev, together with your half sister to the Netherlands. Yeah. So, we're going to speak about that, but also about you being an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. And that 7 years ago, you launched your own shoe label, Marsala, in Ukraine without any experience.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? So that in itself is already a great story. As the brand is super successful, you ran the company with a team of 5. But yeah, in this situation, everything changed. Obviously, the city of the main shoe factory was bombed severely. So you had to skip your fall-winter collection. But you came to the Netherlands, you didn't give up, and you decided to make army chest with the Ukrainian flag, which you then sell to the Ukrainian army at cost price. And yeah, we will speak a lot about what work also means to you and how your company also helps you to stay sane. And I read in another interview that you say, it distracts me also from my grief. And at the same time, it also gives me the feeling that I can build on a future. However unclear that may be. Great to have you here, Maria.
It's such a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, so you told me that you went back to Ukraine a few weeks ago.
I've been there in the end of July, actually.
Yeah.
And it was very tough for me, to be honest, that I didn't expect. And I had many controversial feelings about it because it is my beloved city and it's so beautiful and the weather is perfect. And I see all people I love, like family, friends, and everything seemed to be great. But it's not, because you have air sirens 5 times a day. And in every conversation, someone says to you, hey, we should do this now because it can be our last day, you know? And this mindset becomes so normal that it was really painful for me to see people who are important for me living the life where they afraid so much, and with absolutely no any opportunity to have a plan for tomorrow. And of course I was very happy to be there, and at the same time it's this unsafety kind of give you a chance to to have any perspective for your life.
Yeah, and you also shared with me that when you came back, you felt like, okay, what is the sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the business I worked in, it's fashion. So I really value beauty, but after experiencing it, you just think, hey, what's the sense in it? I should do something that really make a change and to make impact that can help people to live, to survive, to move on, to stay healthy.
Right. Yeah. And I believe also a lot of friends of you are in the army or...
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So do you have any contact with them or?
Yeah, of course, we try to be in contact all the time. As much as they can be in contact, because sometimes they go, they have the connection once in a week or once in 2 weeks. And it's always very anxious because you never know will he come back or no? And some of them didn't, and like it comes so close to you. Because in the beginning it was like you knew that someone like friend of friend of friend is in the army, but now it comes closer and closer to everyone. And I read somewhere that like statistically 50% of people already experienced loss of someone.
50%, 50. Yeah.
Someone they know, and that's crazy. That's crazy number. And of course, like for every Ukrainian person at the moment, values change a lot, for sure.
Yeah, and also like you said, right? You constantly have the feeling like, okay, this can be our last moment or our last conversation.
Absolutely. And even being being in this informational feed all the time, like reading, talking to someone each day, I still didn't feel it from distance at all.
Yeah, while you were here, it was hard to feel it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like, of course, like you have this compassion and pain, but it's not the same as being there at all. And it is something that really surprised me, that you really cannot experience war from distance. And I thought a lot about some like global wars, like catastrophes event that I've heard about or read about, and I thought that like it matters to me, but in comparison with what I feel now, it's like nothing. Like I really didn't understand anything about it.
Yeah, so even whilst you fled from the war, being here created a kind of a distance between you and the war in your home country.
Yeah.
And then you came there and you saw, what did you see? What did you experience?
Like me personally, so nothing happened to me. So I didn't see people died or like explosions, nothing like this. But I met many people who experienced that. And that is also very different when you meet someone that you know, some like close people to you who are in the army. And also I met with many military people who provided me with feedback about the shoes, and the way they do it, like it's so surreal, because of course they say through the injury they got, like, oh, like, when it goes through my leg, like it affects it in this way, and that's why maybe you should like do I don't know, do it in this place like more tight, not to make blood like run out of it. And and these conversations are so normal,
right?
And then you can't process it, like that this is really there and normal.
Yeah.
And also ours as well. Like, I mean, doing this product today, of course, like we speak to the military people all the time, and what we hear from them like becomes our daily routine to a certain extent. And it's really horrible because, like, I don't know, like a week ago, we asked from the troop, like, where should we send the shoes? And they say, oh, sorry, like, you shouldn't, everyone died. And you're speechless. Like, and I've been staring in the wall for 2 days afterwards. Like, I just couldn't work or do something. And for him, it's just like, okay, like, these people died, we should do like something next. We have further steps. And of course, like, we send the shoes to another place, and there are too many people who need it at the moment. And we try to raise money for it, so we didn't work with the government because our product is a bit more expensive than they can afford. So we we work with charity organization that raise money, and then we kind of donate shoes to the troops that request it. And just this reality I'm in now, and reality like I have on the phone and in my computer and reality that it's there are so different worlds.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it, like we already kind of got used to it, if it's possible to say. 'Cause it's already more than half a year and times flies so fast. And yeah, you just you have it as a like to-do list. And that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's and I can imagine that your level of tolerance constantly moves or something. So first you hear something
Yeah.
that really impacts you,
Yeah.
and then the next day you hear something worse, and it impacts. And the other thing starts to become already normal for you. It's like your daily
Yeah,
and normal
that's
between brackets, of course. But it's like, yeah, your reality completely changed. So how can you? I mean, can you share a bit with us? How did fleeting coming here to the Netherlands impacted you? Like, yeah, and how are you doing right now?
First thing, I'm very thankful to the Netherlands and people here for everything they do for us. I think the way people open their houses and hearts are like it's incredible. Like I couldn't ever imagine that this could be this way. And it really impressed me and touched me, and yeah, it's amazing. And so I'm still living with Dutch people, Willem Seidhoff and Martel Was, and they are amazing and very inspiring family. And so fleeting really is, I was kind of turned from my normal reality so many times during this period, and I don't feel stable at all, to be honest, because it's like sometimes you are okay, but then you just read the news and you can't live like your normal life and enjoy the weather, or like to go to the museum, or I don't know, like to do normal work as you made before. But I really try to be like to make my normal schedule, to go like to sports, to meet my friends. That actually I have many friends here who also fled from Ukraine, and that helps a lot, and that's a pillar. And also I just keep going with my work, with everything, and find my impact there. And this also helps a lot. But I think that it's maybe early to make conclusions about it. It needs time to process, and maybe many years, to be honest, to understand how it affected myself. And because like it's not a line, like it's so wavy all the time. And I hope that I will find like a proper place for myself to feel safe and comfortable in terms of future. Like we'll have a plan and understanding of the future life, because at the moment it's quite uncertain.
Right. Yeah. And I can completely understand that what you're saying. Like it's very hard to draw conclusions now, because yeah, like you said, every day is kind of a new situation. Do you like read or listen or follow the news like on a daily basis, or how do you get your information?
Yeah, of course I read updates in Telegram channels each day.
Yeah.
But I'm not spending too much time in it
Mm.
because it's just not productive at all, and it's just terrible. It looks terrible. And also the problem is that like even in my Instagram feed, I have all these horrible pictures all the time, and it's important to share it, and I also share it. And I find it really important to show what's happening in Ukraine, so the world can see it. And recently there was like a picture, like a text that everyone shared that like I can't that literally said I can't understand how to live with it, because I have like my news feed is like weddings, sea, like bodies, like explosions, children, bodies, and like you see it all the time this way, and you're like, I think our brains are a bit broken at the moment, because like everything is mixed, and all these gives you emotions, like different emotions, and it's ups and down all the time, and you can't ignore it.
No. And were there any like points of light when you were there, or perhaps when you speak to your friends or your grandparents?
I think it's incredible how Ukrainian people believe and defend the country and continue to open new businesses in Ukraine, to launch their projects, to run everything as nothing happened, to pretend the life is absolutely normal, to make parties or like to open new sport clubs and all the stuff. Like it's really inspiring that nothing stops at all. And even in the occupied city, like as soon as they are deoccupied, the life goes on, and it is very beautiful. And my grandfather, once he said to me, I've been in the market early in the morning today, and I saw that people sell flowers. And the most fantastic is that other people buy flowers. And I think it's very beautiful and true story about what's happening there, because people just want to continue live their normal life in the country they love, with the democracy they chose. And we really know what we are fighting for, because we had the revolution 7 years ago, and actually the war started 8 years ago. And after the revolution, everything changed. And with after we get rid of our pro-Russian government last time, we started to launch businesses, to create, to be kind of brave in our ideas. We felt that we can do anything. And this period was so blooming, and everything was so active. There were festivals, very active, intense life. We had so many tourists, and it was fantastic. And you definitely feel the difference what was before and what we got in the end. And even I founded the business also 7 years ago, and it's not a coincidence. It's it was the wave, a huge movement that inspired people to make a change, and to we all have had this feeling that we can do anything. And we really want to save this. We fight it for it, and we want it to be there. And that's why we don't want to be a part of Russia. We never chose it. And that's very normal to fight till the end for this.
And you mentioned your grandfather. Now, our listeners probably don't know, but you were living with your grandparents, right? And this is also, I'm not sure what the word is, but an interesting situation, as your grandmother is from Russia and your grandfather is from Ukraine. They're still together, but not speaking to each other, or
at some point, it's like when the war started, they didn't speak to each other for a while. Now they are okay. But it's very difficult because she definitely waits for Russia to be a governor in Ukraine, and so it is very important that she lives in Ukraine since her 18. Literally all her life, like 70-80% of her life, right?
Yeah.
And still, I think that they all have it in their primary school education, something like this imperialistic way of thinking, that they are kind of better with no reason, just like this is the way how they show they are better. And it's very interesting. So I had quite like a lot of relatives in Russia, and most of them left the country many years ago, like 20 years ago. They live in Scotland or like the US, and they all support Russia at this situation, living in capitalistic world, having all the benefits of like safety, like security, democracy, but still they feel that it's the only way Russia should dominate the world, like to kill other people. And that's the story of how and many Ukrainian people lost the parts of their families or like their friends from Russia, because we were really very connected family-wise and historically from the Soviet Union. Of course, like most of people have part of their family there. And even knowing the truth, they are absolutely ignorant to the consequences that it has, and I find it very cruel and violent even to think this way, and I can't understand how to continue any communication with people who find normal to have a war in the 21st century.
So you mentioned that you spoke with your grandfather like once a month, every 2 weeks, and now you speak to him like
we
a lot, right?
Yeah, we started like when the war started. We started to speak 2-3 times a day, quite alone, and he experienced the Second World War, and it was something that was very sensitive for him all his life, and he never talked a lot about it, and he always asked not to switch on the movies about war, like he was really influenced by it. And when it started, he was really scared, and I think that like I've never seen him scared in general. He was like a strong man, like head of the family, and now I couldn't even understand how to talk to him, and that was my biggest pain, to be honest. And at some point he wanted to leave the city to go to our outside of the city house, and this place was located next to the occupied territory, and of course I didn't want him to go there, but he didn't want to stay with my grandmother because it was difficult for him just to be next to her. And we had like this conversation for several weeks, and nothing worked at that moment. It was like a curfew for several days, and it was really difficult to organize it. But in the end, I felt that he felt so much pain about it that it is better for him to leave. And I think it was my hardest decision during this war, because like that responsibility for life actually, and the way itself was quite unsafe, and also to be there so close to that those places that were actually like with mass graves and all this next to Kiev, really horrible. But at that time we didn't know what happened there. We just knew that something is wrong there. And he said that he understands the responsibility and like it's his decision and he really wants it. And in the end, everything is okay and nothing happened there, luckily. But yeah, I was really scared.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I know from other interviews that your grandfather also is a very important role model, or has been a very important role model, because maybe it's good to explain a bit more that, it's not so common for a woman to start her own company in Ukraine. Maybe that has changed the last couple of years. Can you give a little bit of background of the position of women in Ukraine, let's say before the war, and how it's kind of special what you did?
And of course he definitely influenced it. Though my grandmother was a housewife, and so our family is very classic and conservative on this side. But he always said that you should like work and do something by yourself and get education and like work hard, study hard, and not to rely on someone else. I didn't have another idea. Like I saw only this way. And in Ukraine, most of families are quite conservative, but still we have many, especially last like 5-7 years, there were many female founders who kind of had even much more loud voice than men's. And they all were maybe for reason that it's not that common, they felt this necessity of being seen, and that made a change, and it's a huge inspiration for many other women. But we have this, I find it like quite a big problem with maternity leave, that it is that can be for 3 years legally, and of course that's the reason why like the companies didn't want to hire young women legally, and it's not safe for them to pay like just not to have your employee for 3 years.
Yeah. So literally, when you get pregnant, when you deliver, you have
3 years.
3 years of maternity leave, whereas the father
doesn't have any,
right?
Yeah. And of course, in 3 years you can have another child, and then they never go back.
Yeah.
And so once we made a collaboration with one charity foundation that works for women entrepreneurship, and we actually made a project that gave a small grants to women who want to make this first step after the maternity leave.
Yeah,
because as to the research, it's the biggest challenge, because you lose the connection with the reality so much, and of course their husbands are not interested anymore in them working, because they have their comfort zone, like of their woman at home, like making cozy house and taking care about everything.
Yeah,
and they just don't need it anymore, and of course they also feel power. And it's not something that helps everyone to be mentally healthy, of course, also. And now with the war, I think it's very interesting what's happening, because all these women who left the country, to a certain extent, they became an economical power for the families. And also they prove to their husband, their families, and most important for themselves, that they can do anything by themselves, and that they can take care about their children, to work, like to organize their normal life abroad, to learn and do all this together. And I can't imagine how difficult it is, but they can do this, and no one will ever prove them that they can't anymore. And also, I think that it's important that women see how different European societies are built, and that the relationships are more equal, and that women work after having children, like come back to their jobs quite fast, and also they feel more respect, just because they are normal, like citizens, that they definitely didn't feel that much at home. And I think that it will have very long-lasting consequences to the way the society is built in Ukraine when they will come back.
Right. Yeah. Because about, let's say, approximately 5 million people fled.
Yeah.
From which about 4 million women and children, right?
Yeah.
Mostly. So yeah, I can also imagine that this will have a huge impact on the way the society is built. Do you speak about this with your friends?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, a lot. We discuss it, and also my friend makes a research now on this theme, like how it affects, and how she interviews lots of women of what has changed for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it will kind of reimagine the image of family in Ukraine, and also it is very important to understand that most of people who left, they are kind of more wealthy people, and like, of course, like all kind of influential people, and so people who are brave enough to go to another country, and like you need certain skills. You need like language, for example, to do this, and most of people who don't have like a certain education, they don't feel comfortable here for long, because they just can't communicate, and
right.
Most of them are coming back quite soon. And nevertheless, the conditions they have there, they just can't feel normal here.
So what you mean by that is that the people that are still here and that have perhaps a different way of living, the women working, taking care of children whilst they're taking care of children, so they have, when they go back, that they will have
an influence.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So you did a summer course in Maastricht, right?
Yeah.
This year on gender equality.
That was so interesting, very eye-opening for me experience. So we had a very diverse group of people from Libya, Syria, Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Iraq, and Ukraine. And to be honest, I have never felt so privileged. And even being from Ukraine and having the war, I realized that we are so equal in Ukraine in understanding that killing people is not normal. And it's different there. And because women just can't be killed because they were like sitting next to a man by their family. And that's so crazy when you hear it so like in person, or from the own experience of people, and also to see the women in the group were mostly working for NGOs who work for protection of women's rights. And I understand that to do this needs so much bravery, because they literally are in danger, like their lives are in danger just having this job. And what they do needs so much, just need that kind of connection with the values and devotion. And it's very powerful to see that, and to see how they work hard to make this change with such small steps, like moving so slowly, and with the religion influence, and I just thought all the time, like, we have everything, like we just maybe we should be a bit more pushy, or like to shout about it, like about which rights we have, but we definitely have all these rights. We just need to balance the cultural thing and like the way other people think about us, or just to prove that like what we want to do is okay. But technically we have the rights, and that is the most important thing. And all the others are like look so easy in comparison. But like, of course, for me, when we discussed even our like family problems, or like how everything is organized in society, we felt that in the end we all have the same problems, and the way we feel everything is very same. But we still have a huge gap in the way things are made for people. And I think we being in democratic countries, just like we women should use the opportunities we have.
Right. Yeah. So what, Maria, what drives you to go to a summer school and to learn more about gender equality? What is it that makes you want to know more about this, and also with your company and the things you do in Ukraine when it comes to like helping other women set up their own businesses? I've never felt like oppressed, or that I don't have a chance to do something. But I see that women around me do. And also, I think that the way it is built in families, like it's not very supportive to women, and I wanted to change it. And also, I have many controversial feelings inside myself about how I see the relationship. I had a you mean the family relationship?
Yeah. Like between genders, and I had an experience of living in the UK for a while doing my master's, and I lived with two couples of European people, and the way they respect each other was so inspiring for me. And it was the first time in my life when I saw anything like this, when I saw people that are so equal and so respectful, and really see each other in depth. And it touched me a lot, and I thought that, like I can have this for myself as well. And it's not very easy in Ukraine, because gender roles are very determined, and you definitely like meet these stereotypes all the time. And first of all, I started to kind of have this inner conversation with myself of how I see other women and which stereotypes I also apply to them, not fairly at all, and just stop myself on thinking this way.
Can you give an example?
For example, like someone having a business because like her husband made it for her, or like I don't know, like her father, but like never given this belonging of success to herself. That has reasons. Like this thought definitely has reasons in our country, definitely, but it's not for everyone, for sure. and there are many women who just worked hard and made a difference. And
Right, like yourself.
yeah, absolutely. And and like many people judge others in this way, and also in a family, I just thought that like I want my relationship to be that respectful as I saw, and it can be done only building them on these like on the more democratic values.
Yeah, so you felt like, okay, so when you saw the example in the UK of a, let's say, more equal relationship, you were like, okay, this I want to bring back to my country, and I want this for myself, but I also want this for others.
And I so as culturally, I have this influence of of being raised in a conservative family also. Though my grandfather told me that like you should do it in a different way, but still the picture I saw was very classic.
Right.
And it also influenced me, and that's why I have a certain expectations from a man that maybe are not fair to the men. And because of my grandfather who showed me this kind of attitude.
Right.
And all these are mixed inside, and I like all the time I have this fight inside myself, like of these things, and sometimes controversial values. But I think that as long as I have this conversation, and as long as I think about it and try like to think critically about it, I move on to something good. And and that was the reason why I wanted to go to the course and to understand it deeper and to see it from different angles and how to manage it and like how it affects the world.
Right. And you mentioned the traditional idea of a man, of a partner, and how you grew up with that. I can also imagine that, because now so many men are obliged to go to the war. This will also really influence, the idea of being a man in Ukraine. I mean, I can imagine.
That's true, but also there is another thing. 50,000 women already joined the army voluntarily.
Right.
And that also changes the image of a woman who can do the same military job. And women in the army, I've read several interviews with them, and they say that it takes time for them to prove that they can do the same work. But in the end, no one doubt their skills because they devote themselves. And I think that if a woman decides to do this, like she's definitely ready for anything.
Right.
And it is very inspirational. And for us as a shoe brand, we make military shoes both for men and women.
Mm-hmm.
And in the beginning of the war, that was a big problem to find small sizes because the military industry is not used to it, and they just didn't have any supplies, and like the uniforms and everything, and like the bulletproof vests, they are too heavy for them. And so you should take into consideration also physical particularities of women's body. And it's about everything. I've read very interesting book, which name I forgot, but it was about the physical side of a woman that is not taken into account for the for innovations, development of some cars or medicine, especially.
Absolutely,
and it's just so important to do this. And we made like two styles and one is for women, and it is very light. And in comparison with the shoe they have, like the weight of these shoes is about 1 kilo, and the shoe they have is up to 3.
Oh yeah, so there's
So,
really a big difference in weight, but also in probably in the way it's shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the book you're referring to, perhaps we can find it, and afterwards we will put it in the show notes. And you're right, and we talked about this also a lot in this podcast, that there from many times women are excluded from medical research, safety. Proven that there are more car accidents with a death result for women because all the safety measures are not linked to what women need. And that's the same with army clothes, but also for the police. And the weird thing is, I mean, you speak now about Ukraine, but I think this is even the case in the UK and also in the Netherlands. It's like we definitely like. So what I find also interesting is you spoke about the more equal relationship you experienced with your friends or housemates in the UK. Now you're here in the Netherlands. You're here now for almost half a year, with all the insights that you gained also from the Maastricht University. What is your view on gender equality in our society?
Maybe it's still a bit difficult for me to know, to say something, because I don't really meet lots of couples, to be honest, like to see how their relationships are built. But I think that the problem exists and everywhere, but with a different kind of scale. And it happened historically, definitely. And we just need time and like people like you who just speak out about it and raise the questions and inspire women to make the step and to fight for their rights. And I think that in the end we'll come to a better world. But also we with this course we discussed their equality and equity, and I think it's very interesting that we can't take out of the consideration the fact that we are really different physically. And it, of course, it affects a certain like jobs or like something that we are better in, both men and women. And I think it is also difficult to be a man, because like women expect from you to be strong and tender and attentive and confident and soft and all these many controversial feelings. And same time, the image of a woman is much more clear and same for the men. And I think sometimes they just don't know what to do.
Right.
They can't read your mind.
Right. Yeah.
And so what I feel that we all should speak more, just to have the dialogue and to share what we feel and how we feel, and because so many things affect it, and our childhood and the way we raised and the society and the context and like the war, I don't know, the news, and it all affects us a lot, and we just should share with each other what we want and like how we see ourselves today, and we also change like year from year, and I think the dialogue will help us, all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. So coming back to you and coming back how you are doing, you mentioned a few things that help you to stay sane. At the same time, you mentioned at the beginning of the interview, like, okay, at this point I don't feel really balanced, there's so much happening, which I completely understand. We speak a lot about leadership, and also, on the one hand, making an impact, but at the same time, staying connected to yourself.
Yeah.
Well, you're in a much more extreme situation than leading your company. But are there any things that you can highlight that help you to stay connected and to kind of rebalance when you feel you're out of balance?
I think that my biggest pillar is conversations with my friends.
Yeah.
Who also share the same go through the same challenges.
Right.
And so like my best friend, she's in Poland, and I speak to her each day, and we just share very like routine things with each other that helps a lot, just to like free yourself from what you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And also like I do yoga, for example, and it also helps me. And each time I feel very anxious, I just understand that I need to do some like short training just to distract myself.
Right.
Because I just started to read and watch something recently, but like during half a year I just couldn't, because all your minds are somewhere and you cannot concentrate. And here in Amsterdam, it helps me to go to the museums or like to see some art, to because it helps to feel like the normality of life.
Right. Yeah, I can completely understand. Do you want to go back?
Of course.
Yeah, that's.
I miss my home a lot. I can't say confidently that I'll do it fast, or that like when it happened or how it happened or how I see my life. No, I decided that it's easier for me to have a plan to stay here now and to build my life like I'm here, and then just in case, like when it is over or when it is safe there, it's very easy for me to come back. Like I have everything there, and so it's the simplest way simplest thing to do for me. But to build your life in a new country is really difficult. Like you don't have. You are not integrated. You don't have local friends. You you don't speak the language, or like, yeah, you just don't know how the life is organized. Like how you should, I don't know, like how to cycle around the city. You know? And you just experience it each day. You find something new, and it takes lots of time. And it takes lots of time to feel home. For now I want to feel home here, and then I hope that it will over, and we will invite all Dutch people who helped us to Kyiv and make a wonderful tour.
Well, I definitely hope that this will be the case soon.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, is there anything you want to share with us? Where do you want to leave us with something?
First, I just want to share that soon we are going to start a Kickstarter campaign on the winter style of military shoes that do not look like military shoes. They're just trendy, cool outdoor shoes,
right?
Where you can hike or like go to mountains or just go to the park. So I want to share the link for our project, and also I want just to say that I'm very thankful for what's happening to me in the end, and it is very weird in this situation, but I think that it is one of the biggest pillar is just this feeling of gratefulness, because even in the worst situations, you experience so much beauty of how people show themselves, and it's very touching and inspiring to see the beauty of like hearts and souls that I met here. Just want to say thank you for this.
Well, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation, Maria. And we will definitely put the link to your Kickstarter campaign in the show notes, so you will be able to find it. And if you want to follow Maria, where can we do that?
Instagram, of course.
Yeah,
I think this is the best.
So
place.
So what's your Instagram handle?
Masliy, Masliy.
Yes, and we will put that in the show notes too. Thank you so much again. And thank you so much for listening. If you're listening via Spotify, we would love you to give us a ranking. You can do that easily on your phone right next to our logo. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being with us once again. And hope to catch you at the next episode of the New Female Leaders podcast.